Hey everybody, welcome to Crack Pack Tuesday number 60 on the Mana League. I'm John as always, and it's time for some more Shadows over Innistrad Crack Packs. Next week we will take a week off to do a pack or two of Eternal Masters, but this week it is going to be Shadows over Innistrad. So we're going to open this up, see what we get, and what we would take pack one, pick one if this were a draft. Alright, so up first we have a Just the Wind. Just the Wind, 1 and a blue for an instant return target creature to its owner's hand. You can madness it for a single blue. This, of course, is one of the better blue commons that exist. It's super good, it's great tempo. Every single blue deck wants at least one of these, if not a few. And if you don't madness it, it's no big deal. It's already instant speed and it's already pretty cheap. So yeah, we've got right away a potential first pick. Hopefully the pack gets better, but we'll see. Up next is an Emissary of the Sleepless, 4 and a white for a creature spirit, 2/4 flying, and when it enters the battlefield, if another creature died, put a 1/1 spirit token into play. This is unfortunately a little bit expensive, 2/4 for 5 flyer, a little bit pricey. If you can get the spirit, it's a little bit better. If I'm in a spirit deck or a flyer deck, or I really need a 5-drop, it's okay, but it's certainly not a first pick. Up next, we have a Jaces Scrutiny. Jaces Scrutiny, 1 and a blue for an instant. Target creature gets -4, -0 until end of turn, and you investigate. Very good card. Most blue decks would want to play a copy of this. However, I don't really think you want to first pick it. It's just below that. Up next is Explosive Apparatus, a single generic mana for an artifact. Pay 3, tap it, sack it to do 2 damage to target creature or player. Not amazing. You generally won't even play this. You certainly won't first pick it. Next up is a Hound of the Farbogs. Hound of the Farbogs, 4 and a black for a creature, Zombie Hound. It's a 5/3, it's got Delirium. If you have Delirium, it also has Menace in addition to being a 5/3. Yeah, this card's never really worked. It didn't work when it was Geyserfield Stalker. It doesn't work when it's Hound of the Farbogs. You don't want this, and you certainly don't want to first pick it. Up next is Ethereal Guidance. This sets +2/+1 white spell. 2 and a white for a sorcery creature you control, get +2/+1 until end of turn. Being a sorcery just makes this not very good. You would need to be a super wide deck, having just a ton of creatures on the battlefield for this to be any good. And if you have that many creatures on the battlefield, you generally already are going to be winning most games of Magic, so you'd probably just prefer something else, another creature, in fact. Yeah, Ethereal Guidance, generally don't play it, certainly not a first pick. Next up, we have Stoic Builder. Stoic Builder's 2 and a green for a creature human, 2/3. When it enters the battlefield, you can return a target land card from your graveyard to your hand. If you get some value out of this, it's okay. If you don't, it's kind of middling. If you really need a 3-drop, if you really need a body, this is a body. But you generally don't want to plan to play these things, but they are kind of 23rd filler cards, but not a first pick at all. Next up is Twins of Mara Estate. Twins of Mara Estate, 4 and a black for a creature vampire, 3/5 with Menace, 2 and a black. As I've always said, this is amazing if you can madness it out for 3, and it's just kind of if you can play it for 5. Obviously, in a black-red madness deck, this card is just super fantastic. Outside of that, it becomes a little bit more mediocre, more of like a 20, maybe like 21st card. You'd probably include the first one always, but it's not something you're writing home about in a regular non-madness black deck. But generally not a first pick. Up next, I think this might be the last of our commons, a Structural Distortion, 3 and a red for a sorcery. Each target exile target artifact or land. Structural Distortion deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller. Don't play this, don't take it. It's wrong always to main deck this. Just never, ever, ever, ever do. Don't do it. I love when I see people play this against me because it's one less card in their deck that I have to worry about. Structural Distortion, totally not in the discussion. Our first uncommon, Invasive Surgery, a single blue for an instant, counter target sorcery spell, which is really bad. But if you have Delirium, you can go through their hand and graveyard and library and rip out all other copies of that, which of course is almost always just totally not going to do anything in a game of Limited. It's so rare that you have 2 copies of a spell, especially one that you're like super worried about wanting to counter. So yeah, Invasive Surgery, just never a card you want to play or pick. So we are still on the Just the Wind plan. We've got a Ghoul Steed, 4 and a black for a zombie horse. It's a 4/4, pay 2 and a black, discard 2 cards, return Ghoul Steed from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Nicely enough at instant speed if you wish. Yeah, Ghoul Steed's totally fine. I would generally include them in most black decks, and of course in a Madness deck they get even better. Yeah, Ghoul Steed I'm pretty happy with. I would first pick it in some packs. We don't have much left. Hopefully this pack doesn't end up being one of those packs. But yeah, it's in the discussion for a potential first pick. Up next, we've got ourselves a Wildfield Scarecrow. Wildfield Scarecrow, 3 generic mana for a Scarecrow, 1/4 defender. Pay 2, sack it, search your library for 2 basic land cards, reveal them, and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your library. Wildfield Scarecrow, I'm pretty happy with if I'm playing a deck that's splashing for something. If I'm in a 2-color deck, I generally wouldn't include these unless I was super defensive and just really wanted it as a 1/4 defender. But yeah, I would never first pick it. I would pick these later when I know that I actually want one. That gives us a rare of Falcon Wrath Gorger. Falcon Wrath Gorger, a single red mana for a Vampire Berserker 2/1. Each vampire creature card you own that isn't on the battlefield has madness. The madness cost is equal to its mana cost. I have been super unimpressed with Falcon Wrath Gorger. I've played it a couple times. I don't think I've ever madnessed out a vampire that didn't already have madness on it. Yeah, Falcon Wrath Gorger, I thought it would be great, and it's just kind of It's okay as a 2/1 for 1, but otherwise it's just not that good. I would leave it in the first pick pile, but I don't think it's going to make it. And we only have one double face card, but it's a Lambholt Pacifist, which is pretty okay. Lambholt Pacifist, of course, a 1 and a green creature, human, shaman, werewolf, 3/3 that can't attack unless you own a creature, control a creature with power 4 or greater, and it does check itself if she somehow gets bigger. On the flip side, she is a 4/4 that just has the usual transform back clause. Yeah, Lambholt Pacifist, super solid, actually seeing play in Standard. So pretty solid card, and I would generally be happy to pick this up first pick in many packs in Shadows over Innistrad. So Falcon Wrath Gorger can get out of there. I don't think it's in the question. I don't think Ghoul Steed is either. I think it's between Lambholt Pacifist and Just the Wind. And with blue being as bad as it is, I think we just cut Just the Wind and be very happy with a Lambholt Pacifist. Not only that, but we say to our people sitting to the sides of us, hey, we're in green. Get out. Don't go green. We're in green. Although at my local store lately, nobody's really been watching. I've first picked cards and ended up with both people on both sides of me in the same color as my first pick flip card. But yeah, Lambholt Pacifist, I think, is a relatively clear first pick in this pack, but let me know what you would have taken. Would you have taken the Falcon Wrath Gorger? Would you have taken the Just the Wind, the Ghoul Steed, something else? Let me know in the comments down below, or with the little poll up in the top right-hand corner, or both if you really want to let me know. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, you can find me on Twitter at The Mana Leak. That's L-E-E-K, like the vegetable, not the card. You can also find me on Facebook at facebook.com/The Mana Leak and twitch.tv/The Mana Leak. You've already found me here on YouTube. If you enjoy my videos, click that little thumbs up icon, click that subscribe button if you have not already. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, let me know. Otherwise, I will see you all next time.